Hello and welcome back to another video with me. This is going to be an updated version of the Scarlet and Violet news that's have been happening the last couple of days. With the new silver borders, we have the new tool rule that's going to implement into the new format, and we're gonna have the rotation mark regulation. So let's take a peek on the silver borders. So for the first time ever, the English cards will use the same silver borders used in Japan according to TPCI. This change was both for the frames of Pokemon TCG art in the original intended border and future in theories in the game on the global level. So this is kind of interesting to me to see that most of the new Pokemons do have the new border. Mostly because of, I think TPCI do want to have it pretty similar to Japan, more than when we had earlier. So the difference is like the European and the American version of the borders are yellow in these perspectives, but like in Japan and the World Championship decks have these silver borders. A trainer substitute item supporter and stadium will be moved to the top left on the card to be more visible in players' hands. Currently, it's located on the top right of the trainer cards. Mostly like the supporter trainer thing like here with Professor Research. The name of the energy will also be featured on top of the card along with a new sub name tag for energy. The energy symbol currently featured on energy cards will now allow on the bottom right on of the energy cards. This change will make the amount of type of energy attached to each Pokemon clearer for each player. So this is probably what they mean, that this implements a thing for the grass energy, fire, water, lightning, psychic, fighting, dark, and metal. So this is probably to indicate easier to see which energies that's attached to both Pokemon in play, I guess, for both players. The set symbol will now be replaced by the set codes just like in Japan, and the code includes like SV1 and the language AN in English. I think this is going to be easier to look like on the bottom left corner on the card, like where we see here, like there's SV1S or SV1E in English. As will be so much easier to see which set it is, and I think it's even better for the players that plays the game when you know what to write down on your deck list than just figuring out what the initial three letters are and then picking the number of the card that you're probably going to have in your deck list. This is also a price increase in what they have been announcing as well, according to TPCI, due to the global inflation, like what happens in the world right now, having an impact of the cost of the materials to the products. For the TCG products that will verify for the MSRP increase into select markets with the launch of the Scarlet and Violet series. For example, the price of the booster packs will increase from $3.99 to $4.49. Regularly, if I will take this into consideration of the American booster packs, this will be around right now, I believe, like the $4 or the $3.99 price will be like $140 for a booster box. But with the upgrade of the increase of what the booster packs will be, it's probably going to be $160, I think, for a booster box regularly. So let's get into the tool cards that would be revealed and is a change. All Pokemon tool cards will do have a change from Scarlet and Violet onwards. So starting January 20th in Japan, the new and exciting tool cards were no longer considered item cards. So this is very, very, very crucial. This will be now simply their own tool subcategory. So this is a thing that people have been talking about a little bit. Like, for instance, trainer cards will now feature 4 other subtypes, like for the Japanese thing. It will have their own subtype than what we have seen before in the metagame or in general. So this means that, for example, Mew with the Mysterious Tail ability, you can't retreat a tool like, for example, like Rocky Helmet, because it's no longer considered an item card. So if you didn't know what Mew is this Mew right here with the Mysterious Tail. Once during your turn, if this Pokemon is the active spot, you may look up the top 6 cards of your deck, reveal an item card you find there, and put the rest into deck. So basically you're picking up probably maybe Air Balloon or anything like that. That no longer would affect this Mew. So that's kind of a bummer. But one of the cool things that actually is happening with this is if you use Vikavolt, for example, with Parasailing Bolt, or any other lock type of item specific effect or attack, this tool card wouldn't be affected by any card to find a trainer card to remove certain effects and these kind of things. So what this means is, like, for example, say Vikavolt's Paralyzing Bolt says do 50 damage during your opponent's next turn. You can't play any item cards from your hand. So this would affect anything about, like, if you're trainer locked, that would be in a different answer to being item locked in that instance if you have a tool card that you want to attach to a Pokemon in play. So that's also very interesting between Garbodor from the earlier sets that shuts off abilities, and the Vileplume that says each player can't play any item cards from his or her hand. So if you have Vileplume in play, you can still use your item cards from your hand to attach to your Pokemon. And that makes Garbodor even better. So if this Pokemon has a tool card attached to it, each of Pokemon in play and each player in the hand and discard pile has no abilities. So this Vileplume Irritating Pollen effect wouldn't affect the tool cards that would be attached to Garbodor. So that's very, very good. Even with, we can see here that it says item card from the Rocky Helmet that was revealed. This section here would be removed and it will be staying here and says tool card. So that's one of the new things. Let's go through the rotation. So starting January 20th, all D cards will be rotated out of the Japanese standard format at the same day as Scarlet and Violet is released. This will introduce the G legality cards. Of January, you still have D, E, and F, but on the 20th you have E, F, and G. So these kind of things are very interesting to me, because I think this is going to be the same thing for us as well when it comes to the rotation here in Europe and in America. Since we did have this back into the last time they did talk about the rotation, the says right here. The next rotation occurs, all cards from the D mark will be removed from the standard format. So I believe this is going to happen at the same time when we get Scarlet and Violet here in Europe and America, when we get probably the 31st of March. That all of those sets with the deregulation mark will rotate out of the standard format. And then now you can ask yourself, Which cards are those? Just give me a second. I have them here. So we do have all of the most impactful cards that's going to rotate out of the standard format with the regulation mark D. So I'm just going to start off with some of the Pokemons here. I think more of the most notable cards for what we have is Crobat V. It's kind of sad to see that this card is going away from us. I think it had a huge impact on the game. I think there are going to be a lot of misses with this, but still a very, very cool card. I'm not going to go through every single card, but I'm going to still go through one of the most notable stuff. One of the most powerful things that we have in the format right now that actually is very impactful is Wheezing, is one of the greater things that have come out from like the last couple of weeks, but this is sadly going to still be removed from the deregulation mark status. Same with Oranguru, phenomenal card. I think this is going to be missed. This is still a staple in most decks. I think this is going to hurt for Palkia decks pretty much. It's going to hurt for Lugia. There's a lot of other decks that are probably going to utilize this until the rotation happens. Yes, Yveltal. All of these amazing rare Pokemons are leaving the format. It's sad to see. I think this is a very, very useful card for Lugia that it loses. There's still a lot of other cards that Lugia loses from the rotation, but this is maybe one of those huge ones. Same with Zigzagoon. This is a phenomenal card that we are losing. Like, doing the extra damage is very, very important. Still, for control decks as well, Snorlax is also a very, very useful card. Sad to see that this card is actually leaving the format because it's actually a very good card for those control players. That we could have made so many different decks with that have been helping out into the format as well. Other very notable cards like Eldegoss, Durant Mill is probably going out of the standard format. Let's go over to some of the more useful trainer cards. We're losing Capacious Bucket. Evolutionary Incent is a huge one. I think for those decks that really want to try to set up, this is going to be a very huge loss for a lot of decks. Still with Quick Ball, we're losing Quick Ball. This is very, very bad that we're actually losing this card, but we still do have Ultra Ball in the format. Control also take a hit again, once again here with EL Horn. It's still going to be interesting to see what the control decks will do forwards because they're losing a little bit of some cards, but I don't think it's going to be that horrible. We are losing actually Palpad and Ordinary Rod as well. Very sad to see that go. But I think one of the biggest cards that we're actually losing in the standard format right now is Marnie. Marnie is gone from the format. So what are we going to use to probably deal with this when we are losing Marnie? I think the best thing we can do is maybe play Roxanne. Maybe we get a new card that will disrupt your opponent. We still have Judge in the format, so we can still keep going with disrupting our opponent. But I think still this card is going to be a little bit missed in the format, I think, as well. Air Balloon is also one of the huge ones. Didn't see a lot of play, but I think with the new stadium that we're getting, the beach court, I think that's going to help a little bit. But I think we're going to get something in the later into the Scarlet and Violet sets. Other cards like Parasol and Cape of Toughness also will have an effect on some sort of decks in the formats. Birdkeeper, also a very huge card that we are losing in the format. We really don't want to like to be stuck in some certain positions where we can't deal with paralyze, poison, heal, whatever. Big Charm also been a big factor in some of these control style decks or tanking decks. Very good card. But one of those very interesting cards that we are losing is Aurora Energy. I think this is a very sad thing to see that Aurora Energy is actually gone, because I think Regis is going to be a deck that actually falls off the format because of this card. Regigigis can't accelerate these energies anymore. and that's probably going to be a huge impact on that deck, because that deck is more reliant on special energies. And if the Aurora energy is gone, how are you going to set up those other Pokemons in play with different types of energies? So I think that deck is going to fall off when the rotation happens. Also, a very huge thing for Lugia is the powerful energy. Lugia probably gonna miss a little bit of outputs and going needed to be readjusted after the rotation happens, since this card is going to help Lugia a lot forwards until the rotation happens, I think. Still with the wash energy, it's pretty good with like Palkia, it's pretty good with the Ice Cube that can block your opponent for attacking, these kind of things. We also do miss the capture energy. I think this is also very sad to see that the capture energy is gone from the format, and what can we really do? It's rotation, it happens. But yeah, thank you so much, guys. Hope you enjoyed. I will see you next time for another video.